In November 2020, 8 months after the first film, on the mushroom planet, dawn breaks. As a mushroom rises up in the sunshine, it sets off a mushroom-based Rube Goldberg-esque mechanism that ends with a mushroom figurine of Sonic, along with other mushrooms, getting squeezed of their juices, which pour into a mushroom cup. Dr. Eggman Robotnik then shows up, picking up the cup as he documents his log of how he has been marooned on this planet for 243 days, which is about 8 months, because of Sonic, who defeated and banished him to that planet at the end of the first film. But he has managed to survive because of a breathable atmosphere and his own intellect, though his efforts to get something tasty from the mushrooms and fungi have all met with repeated, dismal, disgusting failure. Despite this, Robotnik sees a reason to be optimistic, as he has formulated a plan to get back to Earth and get revenge on Sonic. Having salvaged components from his egg pod, Robotnik has constructed a beacon. He makes his final preparations, getting ready to hook Sonic's chaos energy-infused quill up to his masterpiece and see who will come to investigate his signal. However, the moment Robotnik connects the quill, an energy pulse flings him from the beacon and knocks him out, with the pulse extending far into space. After nightfall, Robotnik remains unconscious as a ring portal appears, with a trio of alien scavengers stepping out of it and slowly approaching him. As one of them reaches for the quill in Robotnik's hand to take it from him, Robotnik comes to, proceeding to activate different traps that he has set up and easily dispatching the scavengers. With the opposition gone, Robotnik runs toward the ring portal, only for him to come to a halt as he sees an anthropomorphic red echidna appear from the other side. As he approaches Robotnik, he aggressively asks where he acquired Sonic's quill, to which Robotnik explains that he got it from Sonic on Earth and that he will be happy to show him the way. On Earth, in Seattle, the peacefulness of an average night in the city is disrupted when some bank robbers in a hijacked armored truck come driving through the streets with the police hot on their tail. As the bank robbers throw pipe bombs at the police, Sonic is shown standing on a building as he makes some preparations before going after the truck. Jumping into the truck, Sonic knocks out one of the robbers and pushes the other out of the truck before taking the wheel himself. Sonic proceeds to drive recklessly, causing the robbers in the back of the truck to drop their pipe bombs on the streets as they get knocked out. He also ungags a male captive on board the truck, the security guard assigned to guard the money, who asks who Sonic is. Sonic tries introducing himself as a superhero, but loses focus as he drives. To make matters worse, Sonic's driving sets off the remainder of the robbers' pipe bombs. The captive questions why Sonic is not slowing down, to which Sonic reveals that he cannot reach the brakes, which are blocked by an unconscious robber. Regardless, Sonic insists that heroes can handle this without the police, and so throws the pipe bombs into a garbage truck that they pass by, which blows it up and scatters its trash. However, the captive can still hear an ignited bomb. As Sonic looks for the bomb while not looking at the road, the captive criticizes his performance, then notices that the bomb is stuck in Sonic's back quills. Grabbing it, Sonic throws the bomb into a storm drain on the side of the road. Not long after, Sonic notices that the truck is heading for a public ice cream stand. Spotting some power tools in the truck, Sonic uses them to take it apart at super speed, leaving only its undercarriage to slide to a halt right in front of the ice cream stand, much to the shock of a young boy standing in its path. As the people recover from their stupor, the pipe bomb Sonic threw in the storm drain goes off, resulting in several waterspouts emerging from the manholes. Meanwhile, the robbers recover as the Seattle Police Department appears to apprehend them. Standing on top of a building, Sonic declares loudly that no thanks are needed for blue justice. While the captive calls him a terrible hero, Sonic does not mind as he runs away through the destruction he has caused. Running back to Green Hills, Montana, Sonic greets Wade Whipple at the speed trap behind the welcome billboard before hurrying up to a mountaintop and greeting Green Hills from afar. He then runs back to the Wachowski house and sneaks into his room, only to notice that he got some dirty banknotes stuck to his shoes after the events in Seattle. As he puts them away in a drawer to avoid raising suspicion, Sonic takes a look at the map of safe worlds that Longclaw gave him, with a feather from Longclaw falling out of it. Reminiscing on Longclaw, Sonic tells her that he misses her and that he is trying to make her proud. Putting the map and feather away in his pouch, Sonic attempts to get some sleep. But then Ozzy and Maddie come in, with Maddie reminding him that he is supposed to meet Tom. With Ozzy forcing him out of bed, Sonic has no other choice but to get up. Later, Sonic and Tom are out fishing on a lake. As Tom tries to have a nice conversation with Sonic, he notices that the hedgehog has fallen asleep while Tom wasn't paying attention. Soon after, Sonic falls into the water as the boat tilts and gravity does the rest. With Sonic unable to swim, Tom pulls him back into the boat. As he helps Sonic dry off and warm up, however, he points out that he discovered Sonic's absence last night by coming into his room and discovering his attempt to fake his presence with a shoddy dummy and a taped recording. Tom then shows Sonic a newspaper documenting the mayhem he created in Seattle and asks him how many times they are going to have this discussion about the hedgehog lying, sneaking out, and trying to be a superhero. Tom calls him out for being irresponsible and reckless, but Sonic insists that the city was already a mess and that he was a hero back there. Tom, however, remarks that heroes do not put others in danger with their actions, to which Sonic asks Tom to be his friend and not his dad. He tries to insist that he can take care of himself, but Tom tells him that being a hero is about taking responsibility for other people and that he still has some growing up to do before he can be the hero he wants to be. He also adds that a moment will come where his powers are needed, but the moment will choose him, not the other way around. Sonic is surprised by Tom's insight, and Tom explains it is a Wachowski family special that he got in the lake they are on from his father, who always tried to steer him in the right direction. The same thing he and Maddie are trying to do with him. This convinces Sonic to agree to being more responsible until his moment arrives. The two then high-five, and Sonic celebrates by using his speed to push their boat across the lake at high speed, much to Tom's dismay. Later, back in the Wachowski house, Tom and Maddie are preparing to head to Hawaii for Rachel's wedding. As they enter their living room, they find Sonic and Ozzy playing the roles of flight attendants in front of a ring portal leading to the couple's destination. After giving Tom and Maddie their send-off, Tom asks for a hug. But Sonic declines, seeing as he is going to be home alone for the first time and is therefore too mature for it. At Maddie's suggestion, they power bump instead. Sonic then gives Tom a ring that they can use to go home with, and the couple bids Sonic goodbye as the portal closes. Once they are gone, though, Sonic is determined to have fun with Ozzy for the next 2 days while he has the opportunity. Sonic proceeds to party it up, leaving the house in a mess along the way. Meanwhile, somewhere far away at a cliffside, Tails appears from a ring portal. Consulting his Miles Electric, Tails proclaims that he has found him through the device's readings and hurries out to find that person before it is too late, taking flight with his twin Tails as he heads towards Green Hills. As night falls on Green Hills, Tails arrives in town and decides to use a car to get around without being spotted, choosing Wade's police cruiser for the job. Meanwhile, Sonic is chilling when he notices that Tom is calling him on his phone via FaceTime. Cleaning up the house in a flash to avoid raising suspicion, Sonic answers Tom's call. While Sonic acts casual, Tom knows Sonic is up to something. Regardless, Sonic convinces him to just relax and enjoy his vacation, with Tom assured that Sonic is fast enough to clean up his mess in good time. Sonic agrees, but corrects himself and acts offended at the accusation. After then having a brief chat about Rachel's fiancé, Randall, Tom decides to introduce himself and hangs up on Sonic after encouraging him to stay out of trouble. When Tom tries to greet Randall, however, he tells him with hostility that he should tear him apart for what he did to Rachel back in San Francisco. However, Randall quickly drops the facade and tells a relieved Tom that he is just kidding. The two proceed to talk about how Rachel is not fond of Tom, with Randall encouraging Tom to work things out with her. Rachel and Maddie come over, with Rachel seemingly happy about Tom's presence and insisting that they bury the hatchet. As they hug it out, however, Rachel quietly tells Tom that she will end him if he screws up her wedding, showing that she is still somewhat cross over the events in San Francisco and leaving Tom dreading what's to come if he gets on Rachel's bad side here. Back in the Wachowski house, Sonic is watching TV with Ozzy when a blackout suddenly hits. Although thrilled at first, Sonic notices something is wrong when the TV turns on by itself and the lights start to flicker, making him uneasy. As he nervously heads for the front door to investigate, the doorknob gets cut off, leaving the door to open and reveal Robotnik. Sonic is initially shocked by this development, but steels himself and tells Robotnik that while he is not sure how he returned, he still made a mistake coming here. Robotnik, however, retorts back and threatens to have his revenge on him and the Wachowskis, Ozzy included. Enraged by these declarations, Sonic jumps at Robotnik, intent on hitting him with a chaos energy-charged punch, only for the Doctor to playfully step aside and reveal the same echidna from the beginning, who punches Sonic through a wall in the TV. As Robotnik introduces the echidna as Knuckles, who is a powerful warrior who is the last of his tribe. Sonic picks up his ring pouch and tries charging at Knuckles, only to get punched through another wall and into the backyard by the echidna, who demands to know where it is. Taking it as a challenge, Sonic charges at Knuckles again with a spin attack, only for Knuckles, who has deemed the Hedgehog an inexperienced and unworthy foe, to stop it with one hand and knock Sonic down. As he pins Sonic against a tree, Knuckles proclaims his intended destiny to restore the ultimate power to the home of his people, while Sonic insists that he has no idea of what he is talking about. Robotnik, who has been watching the fight from the sidelines, takes an interest in Knuckles' mention of ultimate power. After labeling Sonic an apprentice of Longclaw, Knuckles proceeds to elaborate that her people and his people, the Echidnas, were sworn enemies, and that he will now kill Sonic for being an associate of the opposing side. Suddenly, though, Tails appears in Wade's police cruiser, with the emergency lights blazing, which he rams Knuckles with, much to Robotnik's surprise and confusion. With Tails saying he is on his side and Knuckles recovering, Sonic jumps into Tails' car, which Tails uses his gadgets to drive. After shaking off Robotnik when he jumps onto the hood, the two drive away, with Knuckles hot on their heels. After an amazed Tails has introduced himself, Sonic demands an explanation for everything. Tails proceeds to tell him about Knuckles, who is the last of the Echidnas and the most dangerous warrior in the galaxy and obsessed with finding the Master Emerald. Sonic dismisses the emerald as a bedtime story. But Tails tells him that Knuckles believes otherwise and that Sonic is the key to its discovery. As Sonic takes the wheel, Knuckles quickly catches up to them and begins tearing the car apart. Tails, however, has them drive over a cliff. To Sonic's surprise, Tails is able to haul them to safety by using his twin tails as helicopter blades. Meanwhile, Knuckles manages to get off the car and latch onto the cliff, leaving the car to explode when it hits the ground below, totally demolished. As Sonic and Tails fly away, Robotnik catches up in a riding mower and watches. In order to proceed with his plans, Robotnik uses his Robotnik control glove to call Agent Stone, who has become the owner of the Mean Bean Coffee Cafe in Green Hills after Robotnik's disappearance. As a sad Stone wonders where Robotnik is, he gets his message on his smartwatch. Closing the cafe and making it look like it failed a health inspection to avoid prying eyes, Stone uses the shop's advanced systems to send a pod located in orbit to Robotnik, all while joyfully proclaiming his boss's return. Following his POD's arrival, Robotnik arms himself with new clothes, a tune-up, equipment, and badniks. Meanwhile, Knuckles is climbing up the cliff until Robotnik intrudes from above, asking him about the Master Emerald. Knuckles insists that it does not concern him and that their deal is over now that he has gotten him off the mushroom planet. In response, Robotnik helps Knuckles back up with his badniks and insists that he needs him to navigate Earth. Furthermore, Robotnik offers to help him find the Master Emerald, which Knuckles can then use to destroy Sonic. With Knuckles seeing that Robotnik is suggesting an alliance, the two shake hands on the deal, with Knuckles crushing Robotnik's hand due to his own brute strength. With Knuckles convinced of his commitment, Robotnik calls in his egg mobile from the pod, and the two use it to set off. Meanwhile, Sonic and Tails have gone to Wade for help, but keep the fate of his cruiser a secret. As they get acquainted with Wade's garage, Sonic and Tails try to figure out why Knuckles thinks Sonic is the key to finding the Master Emerald. When Tails hypothesizes a connection, Sonic recalls that Longclaw's map has the image of an emerald on it, which he was previously unable to figure out. After Sonic pulls the map from his pouch, it starts to glow. He drops it, and a magical projection of Longclaw appears to deliver a message to Sonic, saying that it was made in case something happened to her. She also reveals that Earth was chosen as Sonic's new home planet for a reason, as it is the secret hiding place of the Master Emerald, an ancient emerald that can grant its user the power to turn thoughts into reality and threaten all life in the universe, should it fall into the wrong hands. She passes her duty of watching the emerald over to Sonic, who sees this as his moment. Longclaw then tells Sonic to follow the map to the emerald and keep it safe before ending her message with her recognition of Sonic's special heart and a loving goodbye, leaving Sonic both saddened and determined not to let her down. Following an awkward remark from Wade in which he believes Longclaw is Tails' dad, Sonic sees that the map has changed to show that there is a compass in Siberia that will lead to the Master Emerald. Tails then adds that with Knuckles also on planet, it will be a race for the emerald. After another goofy remark from Wade about having known a kid named Knuckles from middle school, and worrying if he and the Knuckles Sonic and Tails are dealing with are the same person, Sonic voices his certainty that despite these odds, he and Tails will find the compass first, opening a ring portal to Siberia. Tails, however, is hesitant to come along, insisting that he only came to Earth to warn Sonic and is not a field guy. Sonic, however, convinces Tails to come along by promising to protect him, a promise of which they seal with a power bump. Back in the Mean Bean Coffee Cafe, Stone, now wearing his suit from his original service to Robotnik, has prepared a latte for his boss, who soon after arrives in the cafe. While Stone is surprised by Robotnik's different appearance, he nonetheless expresses his loyalty with Robotnik's favorite latte. Tasting it, Robotnik notes that it could use some mushroom. Referencing his dismal attempts with the fungi back on the mushroom planet. Knuckles arrives and takes offense to Stone when he calls him a porcupine. Regardless, Stone welcomes him upon hearing of his pride in his heritage and his resolve to fulfill his goal, which they mark with a handshake that crushes Stone's hand. Robotnik decides that they should renovate the cafe, and Stone transforms it into their high-tech headquarters with a simple code phrase, which is Robotnik's aforementioned favorite latte. On Hawaii, Tom is having a rough volleyball match against Randall and his team. Despite this, the two of them remain on good terms. As they get talking, Randall notes that his team is more than that. They are his lifelong squad. Afterward, the two of them promise to hang out some more with extreme activities, although Tom regrets it after he leaves. He then meets JoJo and Maddie, with JoJo revealing her duty as ringbearer for Rachel's wedding. At first, it seems that JoJo has lost one of the rings. But Tom soon reveals that he is just playing with her by giving her back the lost wedding ring. As Tom and Maddie get reacquainted, Tom looks at Randall's team and wishes that Sonic had friends like that. Maddie, however, tells him to relax and not worry about Sonic, sure that he will find his way. Meanwhile, in Siberia, Sonic and Tails are caught in a snowstorm, with Sonic ranting about how they cannot find their way. Unable to get a reading on the compass in this storm, Tails suggests turning back. Sonic, however, spots a public restaurant nearby and says that they should take shelter in there. Tails is worried, but Sonic assures him that humans are very welcoming. Putting on some disguises made from winter clothing near the door, Sonic and Tails enter the restaurant, only to get an icy and threatening reception from the patrons. After getting a table and ordering a pair of beef stews using the translator on his Miles Electric, Sonic inquires Tails about his gadgets. Tails reveals that he made them himself and remarks that he found Sonic thanks to them. He proceeds to explain that he first detected Sonic due to the energy blast that occurred when Sonic had his emotional breakdown on Green Hill's baseball field reaching his home planet. Taking interest, he later saw Sonic save the town from Robotnik, much to his amazement. With Sonic equally amazed by how much Tails knows about him. The fox reveals that when he learned that Knuckles was after Sonic, he had to do something and left to warn him. Immediately after, Sonic gets a text message from Tom, prompting Sonic to write one back. Back in Green Hills, Robotnik and Stone have intercepted Sonic and Tom's text messages. As Knuckles displays his limited understanding of technology, Stone quietly asks Robotnik why they are working with an imbecile like him. Robotnik explains that the emerald he seeks can power his wildest designs and both get his genius recognized across the galaxy and let him command unimaginable power. Reading further into Sonic's lie of enjoying the night at home, Knuckles believes Sonic has returned there. Robotnik corrects him, though, having pinpointed his location in Siberia with his technology. After fiddling with a hologram of Sonic, Robotnik and Knuckles head out. Knuckles, however, asks what to do about Stone, to which Robotnik insists that they ditch him for now. Knuckles is not pleased with this decision, labeling it a dishonor, but Robotnik notes that it is how he rolls. In Siberia, Sonic and Tails receive the wrong dishes. Tails attempts to explain the mix-up to the waitress, but his translator malfunctions, turning his question into an insult. Sonic tries to calm down the angry patrons, but again, Tails' translator misinterprets his words, making it sound offensive. This prompts the patrons to reveal their disguises, branding Sonic and Tails as monsters. The patrons grab Sonic and Tails, preparing to throw them into the fireplace. Just as they are about to meet a fiery fate, Tails finds a reference to a Siberian custom on his Miles Electric and shouts, "Pivanka," which surprises the crowd. Soon after, all eyes turn to a single man in the restaurant who accepts the Pivanka challenge. When Sonic asks what "Pivanka" means, Tails explains that it is a Siberian tradition for settling disputes. If they win, they are let go, but if they lose, they will be thrown into the fire. As the crowd makes room for the challenge, Sonic suggests they should grab the map and leave. However, Tails realizes he left the map on the table, which the waitress has put away. The Pivanka challenger steps forward and begins to dance to the local music, making Sonic realize that Pivanka is a dance-off. Sonic and Tails attempt to dance to get the map, but they struggle with the rhythm. Meanwhile, the map gets stuck to the Pivanka challenger's shoe. Sonic tries to retrieve it, but the challenger grabs it first and challenges Sonic to come and take it. As the situation escalates, Tails starts to lose his confidence, especially as the crowd begins to call them freaks. Despite this, Sonic remains undaunted and insists that he needs Tails' help. However, Tails is too anxious, feeling out of place and knowing that the situation is his fault. Then, Sonic comes up with an idea. He connects his phone to the speakers and has them dance to their own music in their unique style, which is much more successful. Additionally, by using Tails' Miles Electric to create holograms of themselves, Sonic and Tails manage to outdance the Pivanka challenger and reclaim the map. The impressed patrons then cheer for them, lifting them into the air and celebrating their victory. In the aftermath, Sonic and Tails are resting, with Tails expressing amazement at Sonic's ability to win the Pivanka. Sonic then tells Tails, as his friend, to stick with him if he wants to know more about Earth. Surprised, Tails asks Sonic if he really means that he is his friend, which Sonic insists, forming a happy smile on Tails' face. Before he leapt up and hugged Sonic, Tails then explains that he never had any friends growing up because people in his village thought his fluffy twin tails were weird. However, he noticed that Sonic became a legend despite being weird himself and was both inspired by him and spurred to help him because of that. With Sonic relating to Tails' past, he tells the fox that he is happy to have him around, a sentiment Tails agrees with. Getting tired, Tails falls asleep next to the fireplace while Sonic's back is turned, tucking Tails in, before laying on the ground with his back turned towards Tails, and seconds later, Tails' warm and fluffy twin tails cover him in return to his action, providing Sonic fluff as he slept. The next morning, however, Sonic wakes up to find one of the patrons hugging him in her sleep, much to his uneasiness, while Tails appeared laying farther away from Sonic. Not long after, Sonic is being carried through the mountains by Tails, who has pinpointed the coordinates on the map now that the blizzard has cleared up. There, they find an ancient temple inside a hole in a mountain. Heading into the temple, the pair finds a wall with ancient inscriptions. Upon Sonic's inquiry, Tails begins translating it, revealing that ages ago, the fearsome warriors of the Echidna tribe forged the 7 Chaos Emeralds into the most unstoppable weapon ever created, the Master Emerald. With its power, a single warrior could defeat entire armies. Believing that no one should have such power, an ancient order of heroes, the Giant Owls, recovered the emerald and swore to protect it from evil. thereby sparking a centuries-long conflict between the two orders. Heading deeper into the temple, Sonic and Tails find a giant owl statue with inscribed slots on it. Recognizing the symbols on the slots from Longclaw's map, Sonic aligns the symbols as displayed on the map. This triggers a mystical mechanism that reveals the compass leading to the emerald, which Sonic grabs. Unfortunately, Robotnik and Knuckles arrive in the Egg Mobile immediately after with Badniks, who destroy the door out of the temple. The two thank them for doing all the hard work and seek to take the compass off their hands. After some banter, Robotnik fires a missile that Sonic redirects into the owl statue, causing the temple to start caving in and open a way for them. Heading for the exit, Sonic snatches a panel from a Badnik that he destroys before he and Tails reach a steep drop off a mountainside. After telling Tails to take the high route, Sonic heads down the mountain on the panel like a snowboard. However, the Badniks pursue and open fire on him, with Tails unable to get close due to the fire and Robotnik. Knuckles, who got stuck in the temple, escapes and imitates Sonic's makeshift snowboard maneuver to pursue him. Meanwhile, Sonic uses snowballs at high speed to throw off the Badniks, only to run into another swarm of them. However, Sonic manages to dodge them all at super speed before using a buzz bomber to destroy the others. As Sonic continues his trip, Knuckles soon catches up to him, much to Sonic's annoyance. The two fight while they slide down the mountain. But despite posturing that he is doing better than Knuckles in response to the Echidna boasting himself that he has been training for this quest his whole life, Knuckles eventually manages to knock Sonic off his snowboard with a display of his power, causing him to land on the edge of a cliff. All of his rings fall out of his pouch in the process, leaving him with no means to escape. Climbing back up to see Knuckles in front of him, Sonic mocks his opponent's temper, to which Knuckles replies that he knows nothing about him. Sonic bitterly retorts that he knows echidnas have a habit of ruining his life, but Knuckles tells Sonic that he lost everything because of him. He explains that years ago, his tribe was on the verge of its greatest victory. Having located Longclaw, the last of the Owl Warriors, the tribe were heading out to obtain what knowledge of the Master Emerald she had. A then young Knuckles wanted to join them, but his father kept him from coming along, insisting that his moment to honor their tribe would come, but that this was not the moment. However, he never saw his father or tribe again after they left. Sonic sympathizes with Knuckles' story, recalling his last moments with Longclaw and sadly admitting that they both lost everything that day. Hearing this, Knuckles begins to soften up, only to be trapped by Tails' electric bindings. This causes Knuckles to believe Sonic was deceiving him as he breaks free of the restraints, with the Hedgehog attempting to explain that what he said was genuine and not lies to get Knuckles to lower his guard. Sonic tries passing the compass over to Tails, but Robotnik swoops in front of the fox and snatches the compass at the last moment before firing some missiles behind him, the explosions of which knock Tails out cold. Immediately concerned for his new friend, Sonic runs over to help, begging him to wake up. Knuckles hitches a ride with Robotnik, noting that Sonic chose Tails over the compass. Robotnik simply writes off this friendship as a weakness, much to Knuckles' suspicion. Immediately after, an avalanche occurs, forcing Sonic to take Tails and try snowboarding away as Robotnik and Knuckles escape. With no other choice, he tries calling Tom on his phone. Back in Hawaii, Rachel and Randall's wedding ceremony is underway, with a biplane arranged by Randall flying by and carrying a banner attributing the couple. However, Tom's ringtone disturbs the ceremony. He tries to put his phone away, but Sonic calls again, much to Rachel's angry annoyance. This time, Tom sees from a text message from Sonic that it is an emergency, walking away from the ceremony to answer the video call. Although angry at first, Tom notices that Sonic is out snowboarding. With Sonic telling him to use the ring he gave him to open a portal for him to escape the avalanche through. Tom proceeds to throw the ring, but nothing happens. Taking a closer look, Tom realizes he got the ring mixed up with Rachel's wedding ring when he was teasing JoJo and that Randall is currently putting it on Rachel. With Sonic urging him to hurry, Tom disrupts the wedding ceremony and is forced to punch Randall to get the ring back. Tom then opens the ring portal in front of the wedding reception. Sonic and Tails blast through it, followed by a wave of snow that buries everyone. As everyone recovers, Tom is notably upset at Sonic while Maddie wants an explanation. Sonic gives a quick rundown of what has happened since yesterday before turning his attention to Tails, who is still unconscious. However, he is soon after hit by a taser net and knocked out as every one of the guests draw taser pistols at the Wachowskis, much to Rachel's confusion. Commander Walters then shows up and reveals that he and his associates are federal agents, including Randall. Realizing that her wedding was a setup as a part of Walters' operation Catfish, and that nearly everyone involved is an agent, Rachel loses her temper and tries to attack an apologetic Randall, but is restrained. Meanwhile, Sonic and Tails are hauled away in cages. Concerned, Tom begins to punch the agents, doing so in order to stop them, but is held back by Randall and taken away along with them. Maddie tries telling Walters that Sonic is no threat, but Walters insists otherwise and declares that their days of aiding and abetting him are over before ordering for Sonic, Tails, and Tom to be secured in the hotel for now. Rachel, however, still wants an explanation for everything. Walters explains that following the incident in San Francisco, a global task force named Guardian Units of Nations, GUN, was created to protect the Earth from alien threats, which includes Sonic. Maddie, however, insists that Robotnik is a threat, not Sonic. Walters rebuts that Robotnik is dead, but Maddie tells him otherwise and mentions that he is taking away the only ones that can stop him, prompting Walters to call an aide to find the doctor before taking his leave. JoJo then brings Maddie Tails' left-behind backpack with gadgets, which inspires Maddie to go save Sonic, Tails, and Tom. Rachel, wanting a word with Randall, is in on it. While Tom, Sonic and Tails are taken into the hotel, Sonic's only concern is Tails' well-being, desperately begging for the agents to get him some help. Meanwhile, Maddie and Rachel scope out the hotel, which is infested with GUN agents. Maddie then decides to go after Tom and Sonic while an emotionally unstable Rachel wants to get even with Randall. Arming themselves with Tails' gadgets, the two head for the hotel. Upon encountering their first agent, Rachel throws an anti-gravity gadget that sends the agent flying high into the sky, allowing them to proceed. Eventually finding the place where Sonic, Tails, and Tom are being held, Maddie and Rachel split up to find their respective targets. Just as Maddie enters the hotel, however, she is surrounded by GUN agents. Fortunately, Rachel comes to her rescue with a homing boomerang from Tails that knocks the agents out, allowing Maddie to continue. Meanwhile, Randall, remorseful over what he did to Rachel, tries to have a toast with Walters, only for the agent that was lifted into the sky to come back down and warn them of Maddie and Rachel's attack. Immediately after, a furious Rachel arrives in a golf cart, crashing into the ceremony's set pieces while amazing Randall with her passion. As Randall tries explaining himself to an understandably upset Rachel, Walters threatens her with a taser pistol. When Rachel refuses to back down, Walters fires, only for Randall to take the shot for her. Walters expresses his disappointment with Randall, but nonetheless takes aim at Rachel again. Rachel, however, takes out a blaster made by Tails and blows up her wedding cake to pieces with it, showing she has the better firepower and causing Walters to surrender. Rachel then confronts Randall, asking if their love was ever real. Randall then admits that while he did not think he could love others, he still ended up truly falling in love with her. With that, they both kiss. Back inside the hotel, Maddie finds and frees Sonic, Tails, and Tom from their restraints. Meanwhile, Robotnik, Knuckles, and some badniks arrive at an island not too far away via a ring. Using his control glove's scanner, Robotnik locates a pedestal in the sand which Knuckles inserts the compass into. Soon after, a mystical mechanism is activated, and the sea in front of them split apart to reveal an ancient temple in the middle of it. Back on Hawaii, Maddie is tending to the still unconscious Tails when she, Sonic, Tom, and a bound and gagged Walters notice storm clouds and a green pillar of energy on the horizon. Sonic recognizes it as a sign that Robotnik and Knuckles have found the Master Emerald. Tom suggests that they make a plan together, but Sonic refuses, saying that there is no time for a plan and that he is the only one fast enough to stop things before they worsen. Tom and Maddie disagree with his course of action, but Sonic, after expressing his sorrow over allowing someone who idolizes him to nearly get killed on his watch and blowing his chance to be a hero, declares that he is not letting anyone else get hurt because of him, assures them that he will fix the issue while he still has the chance, and runs off. Tails wakes up immediately after and tries to follow Sonic, but is too injured to keep up. Tom and Maddie try to tell him to rest, but Tails grimly informs them that they have no idea what Sonic is up against. Tom and Maddie then turn to Walters, with Tom asking if he believes them now. Humbled, Walters can only nod his head. Meanwhile, back in Green Hills, Wade heads to the Mean Bean Coffee Cafe as he patrols the town, on scooter, since his cruiser was destroyed, only to discover that the cafe is closed. Suspicious, Wade takes a peek inside, only to see Stone fiddling with the equipment as he designs a new look for Robotnik. Intruding on Stone, Wade holds him at gunpoint while having him show that his control gloves are not dangerous with outlandish demands. Back in Hawaii, Sonic is at the coastline. Despite his dislike of water, Sonic pulls himself together and charges up his chaos energy before running at full speed across the sea. However, the waves worsen as he gets further away from the shore, making it hard for him to navigate, and he eventually wipes out. Fortunately, he wakes up soon after, having washed up on the island's shore, and finds the temple. Inside said temple, Robotnik, Knuckles, and some badniks are making their way through a labyrinth of traps, barely managing to stay one step ahead of them. Along the way, Robotnik's accompanying badniks are destroyed by the traps, after just barely avoiding getting crushed by a spiked ball and swinging axe. Robotnik decides that they should approach the labyrinth more scientifically and so deploys a miniature badnik from his glove that scans the labyrinth ahead of them, which Robotnik uses to form a holographic map with his control glove for them to follow. Elsewhere, Sonic enters the labyrinth via waterslide and decides to run through it at high speed in hopes of reaching the center, either moving too fast for the traps or barely dodging them along the way. Meanwhile, Robotnik and Knuckles reach the center of the temple after Knuckles punches down a wall. Seeing the Emerald's pedestal ahead of them, Knuckles proclaims that order will be restored thanks to their collaboration. Robotnik, however, declares Knuckles useless now and prepares to backstab him with his Control Glove's taser. But the action is interrupted when the two hear Sonic speed through the labyrinth before crashing through the roof and landing in front of them. Furious, Knuckles asks Sonic why he keeps interfering with his destiny, to which Sonic replies that he is doing it to protect his friends and family, and that if he wants the emerald, he has to get through him. Sonic then speeds toward the Master Emerald, but Knuckles intercepts him, and the two engage in an intense fight. Sonic says aloud that he does not want to have with Knuckles, but the echidna is not leaving him much choice. As Sonic and Knuckles clash, the tide of their battle constantly shifts. Meanwhile, Robotnik is closing in on the emerald. As Knuckles continues fighting Sonic, he notices Robotnik's approach and points it out to him. Although Knuckles is initially unconvinced, he eventually realizes the situation and calls Robotnik out for breaking their deal and betraying their supposed friendship. Robotnik laughs and mocks Knuckles for his lack of intelligence, gullibility, and his valuing of friendship before seizing the emerald, leaving him to die. The moment Robotnik touches the Master Emerald, it glows an extremely bright green and sends a shockwave out at Sonic and Knuckles, sending them backwards. The light dims down and reveals Robotnik holding the Master Emerald above his head, his red suit now black with green outlines, as he absorbs the emerald and warps away in a flash, causing the temple to crumble. With water flooding in, Sonic starts to flee but soon notices that Knuckles is pinned down by a pillar, unable to free himself and losing consciousness in the rising water. Overcoming his fear once more, Sonic uses a falling boulder to reach Knuckles and attempts to lift the pillar. Knuckles regains consciousness, and together they manage to push the pillar up just long enough for Knuckles to escape to the surface. However, when Sonic tries to swim, he begins to sink. Struggling to hold his breath, Sonic lets out a muffled cry for help. Fortunately, Knuckles arrives just in time to rescue them both and bring them back to the island. Once safe, Sonic tries to ask Knuckles why he saved him. Knuckles, clearly disappointed, states that he's not in the mood to talk, feeling that his quest to bring honor to his ancestors has failed because Robotnik, the person he thought he could trust, used and betrayed him to seize the emerald for himself. Unwilling to let it go, Sonic provokes Knuckles into answering by throwing sandballs at him. Knuckles reveals that he was repaying Sonic for saving him, despite not understanding Sonic's unusual tactics. Sonic responds that he could not allow Knuckles to die, which confuses Knuckles further, given that he has been trying to destroy Sonic ever since they met. Sonic then recites Tom's advice about how being a hero means taking responsibility for others, which Knuckles starts to understand. Soon after, Tails arrives at the island in the tornado, much to Sonic's delight. Sonic tries to convince Knuckles to join them in stopping Robotnik. Knuckles asks Sonic how he can be so hopeful and free despite having lost everything, as he has with his numerous failures. Sonic explains that he has found a new family and friends to help him through tough times. After telling Knuckles he no longer has to be alone, the two solidify their newfound friendship with a handshake, one that crushes Sonic's hand, much to his annoyance and disbelief. Back in the Mean Bean Coffee Cafe, Wade has tied up Stone and is trying to interrogate him. However, his attempts at playing good cop, bad cop in order to get answers have proven fruitless. Immediately after, Robotnik teleports into the cafe in an emerald-empowered state. Feeling an elevated sense of self, Robotnik adjusts himself to his new powers as he teleports around, quickly forcing Wade to surrender while freeing Stone. Stone then reveals to Robotnik that the cafe is surrounded with armed personnel and military vehicles from GUN. But Robotnik tells him that he has a solution to this. Outside, Walters arrives in a helicopter with Tom and Maddie, where an agent informs him of Robotnik and Stone's presence in the cafe with a hostage, which Tom and Maddie recognize as Wade when said agent mentions his incompetence as sheriff for the weekend. Robotnik soon after comes out, and both him and Tom have some banter until Walters tells Robotnik that he is finished, as the U.S. government has seized all his assets. The official dares the villain to prove how formidable he is without his robots. In response, Robotnik uses his new powers to tear apart GUN's vehicles and all other forms of technology in the vicinity and pull the pieces into a tornado, including Stone upon his request to come with the doctor. Tom and Maddie quickly realize that Robotnik is building something using the pieces. Meanwhile, Sonic, Tails and Knuckles emerge from a ring outside of town in the tornado. After the trio spot Robotnik's tornado and discuss the threat created by his continued usage of the Master Emerald's power, Tails voices his uncertainty over bringing Knuckles with them. Sonic, however, insists that Knuckles is not evil, just mixed up, which Knuckles vehemently denies. After Knuckles and Tails then come to a sort of understanding, the trio head towards the tornado, inside of which a machine is forming, which Robotnik boards with an impressed Stone inside a secondary command center in it. The tornado then dissipates and the giant Eggman robot is revealed. It was a towering mech sporting the Doctor's likeness. With the robot responding to Robotnik's movements, he has it begin trampling into green hills while playing music, while GUN falls back. Unable to fight it without their heavy armor or weapons, Sonic and his crew move in the tornado. Before Sonic can formulate a plan, though, Knuckles jumps off the tornado, leaving Sonic and Tails to face the giant Eggman robot without one. As Sonic taunts Robotnik, the Doctor decides to fire missiles at him. However, Stone has yet to figure out how to operate the giant Eggman robot, so Robotnik does it himself, shocking Stone with his energies as he operates the control panel. As a missile barrage is fired from the giant Eggman robot, Tails manages to steer the tornado through the barrage unharmed. Just as Sonic relaxes, he is knocked away by a missile hitting him. Meanwhile, down on the ground, Knuckles approaches the giant Eggman robot head-on, branding Robotnik a deceiver. In response, Robotnik tries to crush him with his robot's hand. Knuckles hits the hand with his best attack, but it does no harm, aside from causing Robotnik very mild pain. Back in the air, Tails shoots the giant Eggman robot with machine gun gadgets equipped to the tornado, but they also make no difference. Furthermore, the tornado's wings get crushed by the Stash Smasher, which Stone figured out how to use after reading the giant Eggman robot's manual. The tornado subsequently crashes into the ground and is destroyed, but Tails gets out of it in the last moment. Back to Sonic, he has managed to take control of the missile that hit him and redirects it into the giant Eggman robot's knee, shaking the machine enough to knock Stone out and leaving Robotnik on his own, though he is more concerned about a hostile workplace report from his subordinate. As Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles gather on the main street, Knuckles and Tails feel uncertain about what to do next. Sonic points out that if they each attack alone, they are likely to fail. However, he suggests that if they combine their strength, speed, and intelligence as a team, they will have a better chance of succeeding. Everyone agrees, and Sonic declares that this is their moment to shine. Meanwhile, inside the giant Eggman robot, Dr. Robotnik sends out his army of chaos energy-enhanced badniks to confront the trio. As the heroes engage the badniks, Sonic asks Tails for suggestions. Tails responds that they need to find the weak spot of the giant Eggman robot. Knuckles suggests the groin as a traditional weak spot, but a mortified Sonic rejects that suggestion. As the giant Eggman robot opens fire at them with lasers and they continue to demolish the badniks, Sonic realizes that he is Robotnik's weak spot, or groin, as he puts it. Noting that he lives rent-free in this dude's head, he reasons that if he can rile Robotnik up and get his attention, he will leave the giant Eggman robot open to a flanking maneuver from Tails and Knuckles. With the plan agreed upon, the trio splits up, with Sonic running up to the giant Eggman robot and taunting Robotnik into pursuing him. As Robotnik has the giant Eggman robot follow Sonic out of Green Hills, Tails carries Knuckles onto the backside of the giant robot. At the same time, Tom and Maddie are helping evacuate civilians. Upon stopping a local in his truck, however, Tom and Maddie decide to go get Sonic, their kid, as Maddie puts it. They borrow the truck from the local and head out in it. Meanwhile, out in the forest, Robotnik takes a moment to catch his breath while Sonic taunts him about his supposed future plans. In response, Robotnik declares his intention to enslave humanity and conquer the entire multiverse. He then begins firing eye lasers at Sonic, who narrowly dodges them. As Sonic runs across the bridge leading into Green Hills, he starts to tire and slow down, allowing the giant Eggman robot to catch up and unleash a nosebeam that destroys the bridge, sending Sonic plummeting into the ravine below. While Robotnik gloats about his superiority over the grounded Sonic, he notices Tails unexpectedly breaking into the giant Eggman robot's cockpit. Tails uses holographic images of himself to distract Robotnik. Declaring that he cannot be outsmarted, Robotnik blasts away the holograms, leaving Tails at his mercy. However, Tails reveals that he was merely a distraction. At that moment, Robotnik sees Knuckles on the other side of the cockpit and mocks him for switching sides. In response, Knuckles repurposes Robotnik's earlier phrase, "This is how I roll," and leaps at him, delivering a punch that knocks the Master Emerald out of Robotnik's grasp. Stunned and back to normal, Robotnik causes the giant Eggman robot to shut down, which then falls over, leading to Tails and Knuckles sliding out of it with the Master Emerald and landing outside, completely knocked out. Recovering, a frustrated and panicking Robotnik uses his control glove to activate the giant Eggman robot's auxiliary power, causing the robot to start powering up again. Meanwhile, an exhausted and injured Sonic comes back to his senses and spots the now cracked Master Emerald nearby. As Sonic limps his way towards it, Robotnik manages to get the giant Eggman robot back on its feet and walk towards Sonic. In the process, he fails to notice Tom and Maddie arriving from behind in the truck. Then, just before the giant Eggman robot can step on Sonic, he picks up the emerald and is himself picked up by Maddie as she and Tom drive by in the truck. Robotnik has his robot punch the ground just behind the truck, causing it to topple and crash from the shockwave. Crawling out of the wreck, Sonic, Tom, and Maddie spot the giant Eggman robot approaching to finish the job. With the emerald in his hands, Sonic believes that they can still defeat Robotnik. As he tries to figure out how it works, the emerald's brilliant green fades to gray as it crumbles to pieces in a panicking Sonic's hands, releasing the 7 Chaos Emeralds from it. Robotnik proceeds to use the giant Eggman robot's flamethrower to trap the trio inside a ring of fire. Sonic tells Tom and Maddie to save themselves, but the two of them refuse to leave Sonic behind, insisting that they are family. Declaring their love for each other, Sonic and his family accept their fate and prepare to die together as the giant Eggman robot brings its foot down upon them. However, just before this, the Chaos Emeralds respond to Sonic's emotions, and he inadvertently absorbs them. Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik believe that Sonic and the Wachowskis are dead, but the giant Eggman robot suddenly jerks up. Concerning Robotnik after he had briefly celebrated his long-awaited victory, Sonic, now transformed into the Golden Super Sonic, is lifting it with incredible power while the others, including the Wachowskis, who are still alive and well, thanks to his intervention, watch in awe. After blasting through the giant Eggman robot's foot, Super Sonic cuts its head off and coldly tells Robotnik that his plot is over with a furious glare. Robotnik tries talking Super Sonic into a truce, but it is just a distraction as he uses his control glove to have the giant Eggman robot take punches at him. Super Sonic, however, effortlessly stops and blows the robot's arms to pieces before piercing it several times at super speed and toppling it over with a tap of his foot, leaving Robotnik to fall with his collapsing robot to what appears to be his death in another attempt to prevent the remorseless doctor from ever returning again to wreak more havoc and endanger everyone. As Super Sonic descends, the Wachowskis rush over to congratulate him. However, Knuckles stops them, insisting that Sonic has been corrupted by the power of the Chaos Emeralds and is no longer the Hedgehog they once knew. Super Sonic then conjures a thunderstorm that concentrates in his hand. To everyone's surprise, it is revealed that Sonic was only creating a celebratory chili dog for himself. He then summons another one for Knuckles, which lands and splatters on Knuckles' face. Knuckles bluntly remarks that Sonic is still the same as he's always been. Super Sonic subsequently relinquishes the Chaos Emeralds, which vanish into parts unknown, and he reverts to his normal state. After Sonic receives hugs from Tom and Maddie, Tails asks why he gave up all that power. Sonic explains that he still has some growing up to do, and that he is fine just being a kid for now. Meanwhile, Knuckles starts to reassemble the pieces of the Master Emerald. Once it is finally complete, he questions what they should do next. Tails reminds them that both the Echidnas and Owls wanted to protect the Emerald from evil forces. And Knuckles mentions that they've all passed on to the great battleground in the sky. Sonic suggests that they establish a new order to guard the Emerald, beginning with the three of them. Knuckles insists that their task is serious and that they must take a vow to use our powers to keep the universe safe, to watch out for each other, and uphold their new tribe's duty. Tails proposes they do a power bump together to mark their oath, and they all comply. Sonic promotes Tails and Knuckles to his sidekicks for their adventures, warning them that the next big challenge could be just around the corner, but they will be ready for it. Tails, Knuckles, and the Wachowskis all agree to be prepared. In an epilogue that takes place some time later, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Tom, Maddie, and Ozzy gather at the baseball field in Green Hills to celebrate their victory against Robotnik with a baseball game. This field, which had once been the site of Sonic's solitary emotional breakdown 8 months prior, has transformed into a place where he can finally enjoy the sport with his newfound family. In the game, Sonic serves as the announcer and plate catcher, Tails is the pitcher, Tom and Maddie play as the field catchers, and Knuckles takes on the role of the batter, treating the game like a battle for conquest. Knuckles, unfamiliar with the concept of having fun, struggles to grasp the purpose of the game. However, With encouragement from Tom and Maddie to simply enjoy himself, Knuckles decides to give it a try. When it's his turn to hit the baseball, Knuckles, disregarding the traditional rules, uses a powerful bump instead of his bat, launching the ball straight through the scoreboard. Despite this, Knuckles joyfully runs around the baseball field, celebrating what he perceives as a win. While Tails protests that the hit shouldn't count. With their only ball now lost, Maddie suggests they go for ice cream, and everyone agrees. Meanwhile, Tom and Maddie feel happy for Sonic, who has found a supportive group to grow up with. Maddie particularly enjoys Knuckles, saying he cracks her up, as Tom congratulates Sonic on finding friends. Sonic expresses that he has discovered much more, calling Tom Dad. This heartfelt moment leaves Tom emotional. As the group prepares to drive away in the truck, they almost forget the Master Emerald, which is sitting in a cooler. Sonic returns just in time to retrieve it. In a mid-credits scene, GUN forces arrive at the location where the giant Eggman robot was destroyed. At the site, Walters is informed by his agent that they have been unable to locate Robotnik. Though Walters is certain that Robotnik could not have survived and dismisses him with a good riddance, he fails to notice Stone, who has disguised himself as a GUN soldier and has managed to sneak away undetected. Walters then receives information from his agent that, while removing Robotnik from their databases, they discovered a file dating back over 50 years. This file contains coordinates to a well-hidden black site, and Walters realizes, with growing concern, that it pertains to Project Shadow. Meanwhile, in a remote research facility, a capsule opens, revealing a black and red hedgehog who awakens with eyes crackling with chaos energy.